return to Brindlewood Bay. We last left on New Year's Day of 1879. We are opening up on New Year's Eve of 1908. Or excuse me, 1907. And Jackson O'Neill, Turner O'Neill's nephew / adopted son, after brother Jeff went missing 30 years before. And his girlfriend at the time, Georgina, the bakery owner, had been pregnant with his child. So Turner raised Jackson in Boston, where he got a nice education and is now a litigator with a curiosity for the occult. Jackson, you are meeting with Sarah Bernard, who was a Boston Globe reporter, who was friends with Turner and has been working closely together for the last 30 years. You don't know where Turner is right now. He is always doing some sort of investigation and traveling a lot, as is Sarah. And you had a plan to meet with her in New York Times Square for the first ever New Year's Eve ball drop. We'll move into an authentic photo from New Year's Eve, or from Times Square in early 1900s. There's a thick throng of people. Street lights, candles, lanterns, a lot of activity. The first ever to be annual New Year's Eve ball drop. And you're there in person, and the energy is high. You've met Sarah here before, and you're going to your usual meeting spot. If you want to tell us where that is.
In New Year's, our usual little meeting spot, because I'm assuming she's kind of on the go quite a bit, is a quick little coffee, tea, little corner bistro on the corner, right next to all these newspaper stands and right in the bustle of the center of New York. And I just kind of buy a paper, sit down, open it to the most recent headline, take out a cigar, and just start puffing it as I read and order a coffee, waiting for her, or if she's already there.
She's running a little late. You do spot her as she is coming in towards you. She yells out to you, "Jackson! I'm so sorry. The trains were behind." She kind of sits down. She hugs you. You stand. You've known her your entire life. She was practically a mother to you. And she's carrying a small satchel as well that she sets down on the ground between you as she takes her seat.
Of course, Miss Bernard. It's no problem at all. Sit down. And I've gotten your usual. And I indicate the
How many times must I tell you, do not call me by my surname? We've known each other long enough.
Sorry. Habit. Habit of the court. He kind of gives a small, teasing smile and puffs his cigar.
I don't know how you stand living such a stuffy lifestyle just here in this one city. You
I
really
get around.
should. Oh,
You know, there's litigation needs all over the place, but
when was the last time you've been anywhere?
well, the summertime's a nice time to go traveling.
And have you met a girl yet? Are you
Not
even
yet.
trying?
Well, my interests occupy me for the moment, and it's a little, how to say, eclectic for most tastes.
Just like your father. He never had time for women either.
Well, they seem to have time for him. Matter of factly. But you know,
Anyway,
traveling the seas and all that, always on the road. Or, well, his road.
well, that is partially the reason that I've wanted to meet you. I've just returned from Chile, but I've only discovered more questions than answers. I found it. And she goes into her satchel and pulls out a book, slides it in front of you. And this
Kind of.
book. Oh, go ahead. What do you-
I was just gonna say, I look at the binding and see. You're about to describe it anyway, so if I look at the binding and title.
It has no title. And the binding
Nice.
appears to be made out of some, well, it feels like a blending of wood and human skin. Dyed black. So you feel like it is actually more of a natural color of black wood.
Do I, one, know what this is or know what she was going to go find based on previous conversations?
You would assume that it is the Livre d'Aibon, the Book of Iban.
The one that Turner had found previously?
Yes.
Okay.
She says it's nearly identical to the one her father found.
I can't help but notice you said nearly, he says.
Yes. I obviously would need to do a full comparison side by side, which, well, until Turner shows up again, isn't going to happen. I can tell you confidently that this copy is dated nearly 100,000 years older than his.
Hmm.
Which
So
frankly
perhaps-
should not be possible.
No, it should not. But perhaps the source material of the copy. And I kind of just carefully open it with one finger to start perusing through as you do with an ancient tome.
Sorry, you can go ahead and give us an insight roll.
Insight roll.
I've created some footnote translations for you. I've been working very closely with a specialist overseas. I found dozens of references to another collection of scrolls referred to as the Book of the Dominion of Mysteries. I also found this, and she passes you this sort of silvery small container.
Kind of just look at it from numerous angles.
It appears to shimmer as you move it in rainbow colors, this cylinder, and it's not unlike any kind of metal you've ever seen before. It feels warm to the touch, as if it's emitting some kind of heat from inside of the cylinder. You gain an insight, and so you open the book up, and let's have you roll a 1d8. You can just type it in. There might be a button, huh? You find passage titled Ritual of the Outer Void. Irksome hunters of the gloom veil's alien see me not. Outstretched hindrance, aimed in the livid dialogues of evil and saturated in vile wickedness, pass me by. Not for me, ravenous death birds waiting. As I pass, no forgetfulness and confusion. Indulge thy loathsome frolics and begat in other realms. Be not disobedient or find my curse forever bound to thee. Ratavara et sianatani tamavuo. Below the incantation is a sigil described as wings of fire dancing, Nekshiba, sign of flight and direction joined eye, from the second scroll of the Book of Dominion of Mysteries. As you kind of read this maybe out loud a little to her, even, or parts of it, she says, oh, that's the passage Turner had found when he banished the creature. Funny you should open straight to that one. At least as he tells the story.
Perhaps. Fate is fickle that way. And I kind of twirl my mustache a little and I go, now if it could only be, perhaps, and this might be a strange thing to do, but can I try to find a way to reverse it? So instead of sending it away, to bring it forth? I'm not going to speak this out loud, but to, mentally do it backwards.
I mean, it'd be something you'd have to try if you wanted to do something like that later, or you can essentially look in this book and find new things as well, but you basically make an insight roll anytime you try to use it.
Or do the ritual
Gotcha.
right now in the middle of the cafe. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. It'll be fine. Be fine. Sorry, I'll shut
And
up.
I go, no, I go, well, at least I can do what he did, although he had some artifacts to help with that a little bit. And I kind of shut the book for a moment. And where did you happen to find this book, Sarah? He force of habit, he fights the urge to say the wrong thing again. But he goes, where did you find this book in Chile, Sarah? Weather tropical down there?
I found it upon the freighter Eridanus en route from New Zealand to Chile. I discovered an island unmarked on any chart, supposedly suddenly upheaved from the Pacific floor before them. A massive stone crypt on the island, formed of prehistoric cyclopean masonry. Captain Charles Weatherby found a ghastly and inexplicable mummy. This occurred in May of 1878, right around the time that the Deep Reaver first launched. The mummy was brought back to Valparaiso in Chile, where it was acquired by Boston's Cabot Museum of Archaeology and put on display in November of 1879. Along with the mummy was this book, which I was able to obtain for reasons I wish not to discuss. I'm sorry, Jackson, but some secrets are my own. Here's where it gets interesting.
He just goes, "It's better you not. Litigation. But if you need defending," I kind of give a wink.
Well, she winks back at you and says, "I don't know what you're even talking about."
Of course.
And then she takes the book, puts it back in the satchel, puts both of the items back in there, and passes it to you. She says, "Keep them safe." There's also one more thing.
Also, did she mention what this object was that she handed me? This other one?
Oh. No, she says she does nothing about it. It was also found in the freighter, and she has no idea how to open it. No one she's contacted or shown it to has any idea what kind of metal it is or been able to open it.
What was the name of this freighter again?
The Eridanus. Eridanus.
See, there's a lot of things that we talked about that I don't know how to spell, but we're gonna make do. All right.
He then tells you that sometime this month, a Jeremiah Hawthorne has purchased a mummy from the Boston Cabot Museum of Archaeology, supposedly to display in the newly built Brindlewood Museum in Brindlewood Bay.
Jackson just shakes his head back to that place, and it kind of rubs his mustache. Well, I do recall my father mentioning an ankh, which would fall in line with this mummy, at least in the mystical and mythological sense.
He showed me that thing once. It was disgusting.
Yes. But perhaps related to this mummy figure and what we have found.
Well, I surely hope not. Turner always said that the Ankh drew otherworldly denizens to him. I think it was the reason he always kept everyone at arm's length and disappears as he does.
Always on
You
the
heard
move
from
here.
him? I worry for him. When did you last hear from him? He has not reached out. I've received no telegrams, nothing.
When would be the last time I would have talked with him or received a letter or the like?
What do you think? How long do you think it would have been?
I feel like he doesn't chit-chat to chit-chat, but he'd send updates about where he is, what he's working on, where he's been through, ports of entry and stuff, because I'm assuming he's still sailing, because that's Turner for you. But so
Before you can answer her, even, you notice a man nearby who's had his attention on you for some time, and you can tell he's within earshot and likely listening to what you're saying. He's kind of in the shadows, a little bit further away, just outside of where all the tables are.
and I'll kind of raise my newspaper a little bit, shielding both of us, not obviously, but just nonchalantly. And Sarah, perhaps I do not know how you acquired it, but were you followed?
I don't believe so. I took the usual precautions. I was rushing a bit since since the trains were behind.
Ah, well, and don't look now, and I'll kind of be like, perhaps, you need to fix your makeup, but there's that gentleman nicely hidden around the corner right there, and I just kind of casually just smoke my cigar and don't look in his direction, but just indicate as I'm talking to her, right over your left shoulder. You recognize
pretend to drop something and to pick it up and take a glance at him and go back to the table. I've never seen him before. And the man now, like, for no reason at all, quickly starts to move towards the exit. And it's getting into evening now, and there's just people getting really loud and drinking and raunchy, and the streets are crowded, and there's fireworks going off. And he starts to disappear into the crowd.
Well,
You can give us an investigation roll.
yes.
And you wouldn't have much time, but you could try to pursue if you wanted to, but you'd have to move quickly.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember the rules. So, my personality is curious, or well, I was gonna go. It says charming, either curious or charming. But and then my occupation is litigator. Specialty that he would be interested in is the occult, obviously. And his flaw. Well, I guess his flaw would be he's curious, because that can be a bad thing. So I guess he is a...
I like that. So you're doing charming as your personality and curious as your flaw.
Yeah.
It's cool. Okay, I don't know that specialty would apply in this, but I guess only your flaw applies.
Yeah. So with that being said, Jackson goes, I believe you know where my office is. Yes, Sarah?
Yes. I won't be in town long, though.
Let's meet up there. Let's say half an hour. And then he kind of tucks the paper into his well, he hands the paper to her. Just put that on my desk, would you? And then he kind of... So she handed him a satchel, right?
Yeah.
Alright. The items aren't that big. It's the book and the thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'm assuming as a litigator, he has a briefcase. So, he unlatches his briefcase, puts the two items in, swaps the bag, and then just kind of tosses well, while he gets up to pursue, he goes, I will see you in a moment, sir. And he's going to toss some trash into the bag to kind of mimic the weight and follow.
Gave her the briefcase and said, go to my office.
Yes.
So give us an investigation. Oh. Investigation roll.
Yep, and I think I need to...
I also feel like we should think about flaw dice because it don't really have any benefit. Whereas I feel like it should have a drawback and a benefit, right? And it's really just a drawback. Added in. But we can think about it.
If the task is in... Yes, it's humanely in my possibilities. It's not my occupation, but...
Exactly. You're rolling a human dice. I think for flaw, maybe you do it like if your flaw is a 6, you fail and gain an insight. But if it's your highest dice, if it's a 5 or less, you get the success off of it.
Yeah, 'cause I'm trying to remember how the flaw dice work.
We were having to do it separately. If it's your highest dice, it cancels out itself and your next highest. So it can force you to just get lower rolls,
Oh,
which
okay, that makes
I don't
sense.
really see the point of. It's like adding extra dice with that only has a negative if it rolls high. I feel like it should give you that extra dice, which gives you a chance to succeed, but has a drawback if it hits a 6.
True. Although, how quickly do you want Andy to go insane here? So, all right. So
Make you think more
that,
about
and do you want me to roll my flaw dice, or
if you. Well, for curious, probably yeah.
well, one is worse than three, so it didn't even matter. So 3.
1, 2, and 3 are the same, I believe. Bare minimum. You
I'm not gonna just to describe my chase. I'm not gonna inherently like chase after him at full pace, but keep just kind of tabs on him like he was keeping tabs on me, nonchalantly. If that makes sense.
so you mysteriously lose sight of him completely, but I'll give you a description of him with your success. He was wearing a top hat, a long, heavy jacket that went all the way almost to the ground, and had thick, padded gloves. No skin showing. You couldn't see his face. His hood was pulled up. His hood, but his collar, excuse me, on his jacket, and his hat really low. And the shoes he was wearing looked strange, almost like hooves, which you assume they must have been some kind of boot or something.
I kind of open my little litigator's journal and attempt. Well, I feel like it's a hobby of most high society people back now, so I'm just gonna do a little sketch of what I saw. You know, the mysterious man, and then close my journal. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to do with there except, I guess, go back to my law office.
Well, and I don't know how much, if there's other things in particular you want to do, we can do them. We'll switch to Father Bauer's return. But Sarah essentially would leave, kind of go about her business and leave town, but urge you to go investigate the mummy.
Yes, it's about high time I go back to the place of my birth. And he kind of says that with a mixture of like reminiscing and also not dread, but like not wanting to. And I shall have to gather my things and perhaps make some accommodations. He kind of thinks as he starts packing as he's talking. Thank you, Sarah, for this information. If you learn anything more, give me a... We're still in Telegram, right? Age, I believe.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have personal landlines, probably. You might have one at your office, because they were starting to... Edison was founded the same year the first game started, so 78.
So I'll say, send word to me if you find out more. I shall send word to Turner however I can, and I shall go about doing that. And also investigating what I can about Brindlewood Bay, even though I know we know a decent amount about it, but just in case. And also because it's nearby and they were seemingly somehow associated with Muddy Point. I don't know how they're doing, but compared to Brindlewood Bay, but
So if you did just, well, let's have you do a quick investigation roll, kind of like doing your homework before traveling there. Sarah has definitely kept you. I mean, you have full access to the citizens list, and she would have told you about most of those people and like what was happening in the town in the last 30 years.
Mhm. By the way, I couldn't help but notice Barrett still looks the same. Is that the case? He generally looks like a rough individual, just 30 years older.
Yeah,
Okay.
Barrett, you I guess probably would have maybe known Barrett or seen him once as a small child, and you haven't I maybe know who he was or what he looked like back then. I feel like Barrett's appearance to a toddler would be terrifying. He'd just be like a bear, literally.
Yeah.
So yeah, do just an investigation roll.
I feel like Litigator would fall into this, and I
Yeah,
mean, even my flaw dice could, but maybe it's
you could use
curiosity.
your flaw only if you want to.
Yeah, I'll just roll the first two, and there we go. That works, which makes sense.
So Mucky Point. So back in the day, both towns worked really closely together in the whaling industry in particular. And Mucky Point was actually growing faster. They seemed to be getting more of the trade. They were also like picks, not refined and very blue collar, and weren't really spending their money the same way the people of Brindlewood Bay thought money should be spent. But we're still kind of getting more of the wealth. That has changed. Mucky Point, basically, their economy collapsed as Brindlewood Bay expanded at an unprecedented rate. Brindlewood Bay grew so fast and became so wealthy that Mucky Point basically may as well have been non-existent. Brindlewood Bay is now a massive hub of trade, and the wealth is spreading, and it shows no sign of slowing down. A lot of rich and even famous people have started to slowly move to Brindlewood Bay, celebrities and what have you.
So
And then we'll go
still
ahead and
kind of-
move. Oh, go ahead.
I said so, sort of still intertwined, but not as prosperous it once was, as Brindlewood Bay is taken over, more or less.
Mucky Point essentially hasn't changed, if not gotten worse, ever since the fateful return of the Deep Reaver.
Interesting. Okay.
We change scenes.
A very different scene.
Father Bauer. Father Bauer floats in a dark space. Not through air, not through water. Something else entirely. There's a beam of light off in the distance and nothing else. You hear never-ending noise permeates your soul and has as far back as you can remember. And suddenly, after what feels like an eternity of this, your eyes open you see light again. You are in your bed, as you always remembered it. You hear the sound of the gulls and the ocean. And you remember the dark red break in space and the tentacle that emerged from it and took you. You remember the murder and the drained body of the mayor. And most of all, you remember the Deep Reaver and the creature brought back by it. And you hear hymn and song coming from outside your door. Your room appears mostly unchanged, but very clean, and you hear a bustling of noise and wagon and shouting from outside, lots of activity. And you hear yells of Happy New Year.
And it was New Year's Day when... No, I wasn't even there for that. I was gone before New Year's Day. Before.
I think you were taken the night before? I forget exactly.
So
It was
you just
all...
think you've been missing a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was literally all a dream. You'd remember nothing. You remember pitch blackness and a beam of light. And you find then in your pockets, as you kind of sit up and get your bearings. Oh, I see if I can show it. Kind of a tattered map. It looks like it was torn out of a book. You also find in your pocket a key of silver. Why isn't this working? Oh, here we go.
Pretty. Am I the only priest in this parish?
You always have been, yeah.
I sit up slowly. I was trying to work out what I've missed. I'm missing a day or two. I don't remember drinking. Then I think about the tentacle and the tear in space, and was that real? Am I dressed, or
You're dressed exactly as you were when you were taken into the red line.
I look down like, oh, Father Bauer sleeping in your priestly robes. This is not becoming. I don't know, there must be a small mirror in my room. I make myself look as tidy as I possibly can.
You open the closet. It's full of clothes you don't recognize. Completely different style of attire of your robes. Shoes that you would never think to wear that don't fit you.
No what has Sister Margaret done now? Very odd. I will wander. I assume I'm in a what do they call it? Rectory? Is that the name of where the priests stay right next to the church? Is that the right term? I can't remember.
I think Father Bauer had his own room in the church.
Yeah,
It
but
was
it's
small.
like it's a part. It's called. I think it's
Or
called the
like an
rectory.
attached.
I could
I
be.
think you're right.
Anyway, I step out of my room into the main corridor of that and look about. What day? I don't know. New Year's Day. What day would I know that to be? What day of the week? I mean, it's going to be a different day of the week in
I think it
1908,
was.
but what I'm going to assume
No,
it's.
but I remember it was because we talked about it was a Sunday and you disappeared Saturday night. I
That's
think
right.
it was Sunday.
And then it occurs to me, is it morning time? Can I tell by the light of the
Yeah, it would appear to be early
early
morning.
early morning?
Yeah,
Oh,
sun's been up for just a little bit.
I have mass to deliver and I'm in no state. That's what goes to my mind. So I hurry
As
down into
you
the church, to the cathedral.
as you move down the hall, you hear what at first was hymn and song and praise is now sounding warped, almost like demonic chanting. You realize the walls aren't the same as you remember. You open the door into the church, and you're faced with a throng of people. People you don't recognize, people who look completely unfamiliar to you, and a lot of them. And standing at the podium, at your podium, is a man who can only be Lancey Thune, but he looks much older. Everything stops as you enter the room and the door opens, and he's staring at you, and his jaw drops. And for a split moment, there's recognition, and he runs to you, Father Bauer, and he embraces you, and he's crying. He's weeping openly, and he drops to his knees, just his arms around your legs. It cannot be. God has returned you to us.
What? I'm afraid I don't understand. I've just been out for a day. With all due respects, Lancey, how are you? Have you had a bad night? You look. Forgive me for saying, but you look so much older.
He stands up and he just like puts his hands on your cheeks and he's crying and staring into your eyes. You look the same. You haven't aged a day. This is
Of course,
amazing. This
I've,
is
I've only
this
been
is a
gone a day.
miracle.
What are you talking
Father
about?
Bauer. Father Bauer, please. Please. And he now realizes all eyes are on you. And he turns around. Come with me, come. And he takes you up onto the podium. And you can tell it's the whole church, and it looks completely different inside. Like everything has been rebuilt. There's twice as much space.
What?
A choir. He looks to all the people. A miracle has happened today. The one we've been praying for. One to counter all of the signs of the devil. Father Bauer has returned. There's just
just
like
looking about.
gasps, and there's a lot of confusion in the crowd.
And on Father Bauer's face.
Yeah, I imagine.
How has...
Father Bauer, please tell us everything. Why have you returned? Why has he returned you to us now?
I don't know what you're talking about. I blacked out last night, and I've just woken up in my bed. But
Blacked out.
somehow you've done a lot of remodeling overnight. And aged. Sorry. You look good, though. But I don't understand. Where is it you think
Father,
I've gone?
You disappeared outside. Outside of the old Watley house 30 years ago. Mr. Turner, he never spoke of you. He never spoke of it again. He was accused of murdering you.
Within mentioning that, the Watley house, that memory will come back to me.
I'm gonna have you roll an insight.
Do I just click insight roll? It's been a while on the character sheet.
So.
Yeah, you would just roll it on that. No, jeez. Also, just to get my facts straight, the last place he was seen was with Turner at the Watley house, because then he went missing from the parish the night of, right? Because I believe Turner went to sleep and then he went crazy and threw a rock in the river.
Oh, it was before.
Oh,
That was the first. No, it happened outside the Watley house because you were banging on the door and you saw the moth and then the break in space, and that's when he like ran up to it, trying to banish it with his rosary. And then you went inside, and that was when the constable showed up.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay, so your memory comes back, even little bursts of tentacle pulling you in when you were on your way to the Watley house. And you also then see a vision. It looks Brindlewood Bay, but not Brindlewood Bay. And there's just this kind of off-colored ocean out before you. And you're at the very furthest end of Bonfire Cliff, overlooking what could have only been Brindlewood Bay, but long before there was any city there. And it looks almost prehistoric. And you suddenly kind of come out of it, and this vision ends, and you're back standing in front of this massive congregation with Lancey Thune just looking at you, wiping the tears away, waiting for you to say something inspiring to them.
I grab his arm and then I stumble back into... There's usually a chair up there for a priest to sit in. I almost trip and just fall on the floor, but I manage to get into the chair. And I'm kind of looking at the ground and around, and Nancy, I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's going on here. I mostly only remember the Watley house. I remember that as yesterday. Although I have a bizarre image in my mind.
Perhaps we should go see Mr. Watley.
where's Turner? Turner, he would know. He would vouch. You say he was accused of murder. But here I am. He hasn't murdered me. They haven't put him in jail,
Many
have they?
strange happenings around. No, he left Brindlewood Bay and he took his nephew with him. There were many strange deaths and disappearances at those times. They were all connected to him. But you're here now, and that's what matters. That was long ago. No one remembers any of that. But we face new trials and new terrors.
What?
Jeremiah Hawthorne his evil continues to reign. He's brought the devil into this town, and that's why you've been returned to us. You are the savior of Brindlewood Bay.
How am I There's a lot you need to tell me, I think. How am I the savior? What have I done to deserve that title?
Kind of stands back up. My congregation, Father Bauer, was taken from us 3 decades ago. This man is the most pious, devout soul I have ever known. And here he stands before us, unaged a day. A sign. This is a new coming. And they all just begin like praying and chanting in hymn. And again, like you are staring out over this almost cult-like visage. And while it starts off a very typical prayer, again, it sounds in your ears different and almost demonic. And then what do you do?
I'm looking around wide-eyed at all of this. Is Lancey still near me? Is he part of this chant?
He's part of the chains at the podium leading him.
Congrats, Father Bauer. You have a cult.
Huh. I'm just looking at it almost as if I'm in a dream and thinking maybe perhaps I'm still asleep. Are they still chanting?
Yep. You sit there and it doesn't seem to end. But you see almost a shadow kind of forming on the walls. And it appears to be growing and moving towards you. And again, you hear this noise. It's familiar noise, but you don't know why, and it terrifies you. It's all you can hear, even though you see their lips moving. You're gonna have to roll an insight.
Here we go. Of course. I might make it one session. That's really... Jesus. I start looking around a bit crazily. I swear I'm asleep and having a nightmare, but I pinch myself a few times, but that doesn't work. I'm too...
So because you can keep going.
I said I'm too stunned to be able to move. And I just start, my eyes or face, my whole head actually just moves, darting from left to right, up, down. looking in different areas.
You see in the corner of the room this creature. And it just appears to be staring at you. It has no eyes, but you feel like you're holding its gaze. Then it disappears.
I'll make the sign of the
Shadows
cross.
again.
Father in heaven, protect me. I fear the devil has
You
taken hold of
know
my mind.
you have seen this thing before, but you don't know why or where. And the sight and thought of it is the scariest thing you've ever felt. And you know you've felt this before and you recognize this beast and the noise it makes. And then it just ends. It's gone. The shadow retracts and the hymns have stopped and everyone is just kind of at each other and talking excitedly and moving about, and some are leaving and a lot of them are just rushing up to you and like touching you and trying to talk to you and ask you questions. And Nancy comes and shoos them away and says, please give the father space. There's a lot to acclimate to, and come, let's retreat to our quarters. And he takes you back into the back room again and shuts the door and locks it, so it's just the two of you. Actually, two small children have come with him, and he introduces you to them.
All right, I'm a little bit distant from all of this. Halfway paying attention, halfway just kind of still looking about, but I do my best
He has
to
a young
be social, like to look normal.
he has a young 9-year-old and 14-year-old 9-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter. They're Chester and Esme. And he kind of, shoos them away after he introduces them to you, and they go off and play and start cleaning a little. He tells them to go make sure everyone's out and clean up the pews and put all the Bibles away. The three of us have lived here ever since you disappeared that night. I didn't know what to do. This was the only place I felt safe.
What you have said to me is I don't know what to make of it all. I swear I'm still asleep.
I assure you, you are awake. Light of God has shown itself in you. I can feel it. I can see it.
What?
I can touch you. I can smell you. You're here in front of me. It is real. This makes me the most real thing that has ever happened. This proves everything about our beliefs is real. You were returned to us.
What sort of mass was that? I've never heard its like in this church whatsoever.
What are you talking about? That was your mass. That was what you taught us. What do you mean you've never heard it before?
What? It's a strange language. I don't even know what it is. Where's? I mean, it doesn't follow any of the Latin. It doesn't follow any of the known pillars in a mass. What? I don't understand.
Perhaps you should rest, Father.
I fear I'm still
Mayhap when
asleep.
you maybe God will show you way. He will open your eyes. Rest now. I'll make you some tea and some food. And he goes to leave.
What room am I in?
You're back in what was your bedroom, but is obviously was his being used by him as his bedroom.
Ah,
Your bedroom. Now you're roomies.
oh, God. Is there a window?
Yeah, if you want there to be one.
I want to open it and look outside.
Perhaps jump out, run away from this man. Oh boy.
Oh, actually, let's actually go here. So you look out the window and it is bustling with activity. And you see that your stream that was always ran by your church is still there, but now it's surrounded by much better docking. There's scaffolding, it's expanded, there's more water coming through. They're actually using the water. There's a small wheel. There's this whole other opposite side. What used to be just empty land outside of your church has now been built up, and there's houses going up, and there's construction happening, and there's scaffolding everywhere, and it looks like the town has just expanded twice the size or more than you remember it.
This is it, Father. You have lost it. You finally crossed over. I'm going to sit back on the bed, make the sign of the cross, and pray. And pray for guidance and understanding.
Your prayer is interrupted by the sound of, well, something you've never actually heard. It's loud and it's aggressive and it's harsh. It almost sounds like some sort of steam engine. You would have heard one of those before, but it's different. You hear people yelling and exclaiming away from outside. So you look out the window again, you see a four-wheeled wagon with no horses, and in it is Jeremiah Hawthorne, but he looks much older. And he was in his late 50s when you last knew him. You can tell he has definitely got a lot more gray hair, but he is spry and energetic. He's moving around as if he were still in his 40s or 50s. And he has a whole squad of goons with him. These men that are just wearing heavy overcoats and top hats and all kind of matching in their attire. And you see Barrett Major. And he looks the exact same as you last saw him. Just this big scruffy beard and kind of off-putting attitude. And you remember him as being Mr. Krause's bodyguard, who was known for sticking a knife in your back if you gave him the chance. And they chat for a minute, and then they start to walk up the steps into the church.
I have no idea what to make of all of this. I'm gonna sit back on the bed actually and just think. Trying to think of things that have happened to me and what am I missing? Yeah. I don't think I'd be rushing out of the room right now. I'd just be what? Yeah, I'd sit back down.
Nancy comes bursting into the room. Father, Hawthorne is here. We must hide you. I don't know why he's here, but someone must have told him about you. We can't let them find you.
What? Is he okay? I just saw him going down the street with the wagon with the horses unhitched. How did he get stopped?
There have been many changes since you were here. Hawthorne has become very powerful and very rich and very connected. You should have let me kill him when I had the chance. Now he may kill you, as Barrett with him.
What?
We have to hide you.
What have I done that he would want to kill me?
I don't know. I don't know. We can't trust him. He is the evil one. He kind of starts praying a little. He who creates without cause or reason by idle thought and breach.
Is he leading me away to a
You
hiding
must
place?
hide. Tries to get you to go out the window.
Like, what's outside the window? How far of a drop is it? What's going on down there? What?
You're on ground. You'll be on ground level. And you
What?
would just be in the town. You did that.
It's not much of a hiding place out here. There's all these people. It's not very seemly.
Go to the old Watley house. They won't look for you there. I can come there later and retrieve you. Watley's the only one who can help us.
Yeah, I imagine he's kind of like almost pushing me out the window, and this is very unbecoming for a priest, Lancy, as I'm struggling to get out. And then I guess I would get out.
You have the map and key. There's another option. You could like roll an investigation to try to use an item you wanted. Or you could we'll do it that you just if you wanted to leave through the window, you do that easily. You could refuse to do that and do whatever you want to.
No, I'll go out the window.
Okay. Closes it behind you.
And I looked back up at the window and I'm just trying to figure out what has just happened to me this morning. And I decide I'm just going to walk through town, going to some places that are, I hope, will be familiar to me before I remember what he said about the Watley house. And then I want to head there to maybe see if that jars some memories, because that's the last thing that I remember, or one of the last things.
Brindlewood Bay is not like you remember it. Buildings are towering over you. where the fishermen used to live, where you walk past where Kip's house was, and you remember going inside and finding shed skin and the moths.
Oh yeah.
You remember Turner. You have a vivid memory of 2 days ago, Turner lighting a fire inside and burning away all the evidence of Kip shedding his skin and becoming some sort of lizard creature. Just like the Matthew Walsh. And the house is no longer there. It's now just a large apartment building. There's families, there's hordes of people. It is not the Brindlewood Bay you remember, but it is at the same time. Everything is still there in its own way. Except now there's restaurants. You walk past a few notable ones. You walk past Gustaro's Eatery, which I'll make available. You walk past a place called Yun Ho's.
These are places that weren't there before.
Yeah. And you've walked past, you find a restaurant called,
Oops. That's an interesting name.
The Fishery.
None of this is helping.
It's probably making it worse.
Is making it worse.
You walk past what normally was the hill that would take you to high society, where all the mansions are and where the Hawthorns and the Krause families lived. And it's actually been made into this huge opening with a long paved drive and a gate. And there are bodyguards and guardsmen wearing the same types of outfits that you saw with Hawthorne just then a bit ago at the church. You can see that there are a lot more big mansions up there.
I'm going to stay clear of that. And I'm going to head straight to the Watley house.
I'll show you one more. You walk past in the middle of town. There's a large museum called the Brindle Doll Museum. Oh. Actually gonna hit that one again because that's supposed to be the the next era. Middle of town. Called the Brindle Doll Museum. And you end up at the Watley house, which looks the exact same. Nothing has changed about it whatsoever. And it almost seems to exist in its own little pocket where all the noise of New Brindlewood kind of disappears behind you. And you are hit with the memory of being grabbed by the tentacle and rushing up to it, brandishing your rosary, and feeling it wrap around you all the way from your chest up to your neck and pulling you inside of the void and the break in space.
I'm going to flash back to that moment and feel the same fear and pain. And then come out of it and look around. What has happened to me?
On the ground, even if you walked over to the space where you were when you were taken, see these little flowers only right there. There's a little patch of them. And you recognize this flower. And you call it a lao. I'll make it available in Mythos Artifacts under items. And you're very familiar with this flower, but you have no idea why. And you know that you've never seen it anywhere in Brindlewood Bay before. You know exactly what it is, what it's called. And you know that it's basically a toxin that also puts you into kind of a trance and supposedly lets you see into other dimensions. But you know that there are entities in these other dimensions called Hounds of Tindalos that have a chance of seeing you if you're using this drug looking into their space. And you don't really know why you know any of this, but you know all of it at the same time.
I'm going to go up to the house. What do I remember of the Watleys?
You were a bit biased against Mr. Watley because he was an occultist. People went to him for tarot readings and spiritual guidance and seances, and he has a crystal ball and uses incense and herbs for everything he does.
In my mind, I'm thinking this is not the place for a priest to be going. It's the only thing I can think of to do to kind of try to make sense of everything. So I'm going to go up to the door and knock.
Mr. Lawrence Watley, aged 30 years, opens the door. And his eyes go wide. It cannot be. Or?
Were you finishing the sentence? It ended on the word or.
No, he said Father Bauer. Exclaiming.
Oh, I think
Is it
your
really
audio.
you?
I think your audio might have cut out for that. So I thought you were going to finish. That's why.
I'm gonna-
My restless dreams.
So I thought you
Is
just
that
said.
better or worse?
It's better, I guess.
I'm just adjusting my knob. Is it do I sound clear now?
Yeah, much.
Okay, cool. Father Bauer, is it really you?
It is, although I'm the same, but everyone and everything in this town is different. I fear I'm still asleep, but it's the strangest sleep I've ever had if I am. And here you are.
Quickly, come inside, come inside. He
Older
grabs you and pulls you in and
just mumbling to myself, older than I remember you.
yeah.
The town is all different except for your house.
He kind of sits you down on his nice couch. He says, some things cannot change.
Like me and your house.
Perhaps that is a sign. Where have you been?
don't know that I've been anywhere. I don't have any memory of it. In my mind, I remember last night being here. And some bizarre happening I don't even know is real, of a split in this. The air.
I remember that night.
Tell me, do you know what has happened to Turner?
Oh, Mr. Turner. I haven't thought of him in some time. It must have been 28 years ago. After your disappearance, we performed a number of seances. Never find you. Found other things, though. Disturbing things. Mr. Turner, well, he didn't stay in Brindlewood Bay very long. There were many accusations about. The Hawthorne family and the House family, well, they chased him out. It would have been worse for him if he stayed. He was, well, you remember Mr. Turner, he was being very loud. Never quite knew when to stop yelling at the top of his lungs. That's what I loved about him. You always could count on him to do the right thing. He was devastated by your loss. I don't think he ever recovered from you disappearing.
Sorry, Unicorn, you cut out again. Who was devastated by his loss?
Turner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was told by Lancey, it's the only other guy I've met since I've woken up this morning, that he was accused of my murder. Turner, that is.
They accused him of everybody's murder.
What?
He had no one else to back up his story. Doctor turned against him. He had nobody on his side. With you and his brother gone, well, he and Georgina left till the baby was born. Oh, Georgina is still here, of course. Has a family of her own now, too.
Sorry, I'm trying to remember some of these names. Oh, yes.
We should telegram Mr. Turner, or Mr. O'Neill. Was Turner's nephew. He was a resident of Boston, I believe.
Maybe he knows where.
And he'll go and like immediately get up and move to his little desk and start sending out a telegram.
He has his own telegraph?
Mm-hmm. Telegraph, yeah. I know they're getting a little outdated, but I prefer to remain a little bit in the past if you couldn't have already told. As for Mr. Thune, religion has never been more powerful of a tool in Brindlewood Bay. He has learned to use it quite well ever since your disappearance.
I'm sorry, Unicorn, you cut out a bit. Who has learned to use what quite well?
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
You're quieter. Do you have like a gate
Can you hear me?
function on your microphone? Do you have
No,
controls?
I don't know why it's never had issues before.
To be fair, on my side, I've heard everything, so I don't know if it's a.
Oh.
Oh. Well, that's interesting. I got nothing on my end that would change things.
Hmm. What was the last thing you had heard?
I'd heard most of it, but it was just some details, like who is the first thing, and gotten quite good at something.
Oh, he was talking about Lancey taking over as the local priest and and that religion has become a powerful tool
Oh,
in Brindlewood Bay during this growth,
that's what he's
and that
using.
he's using it. Mhm.
What I heard this morning was not any sort of mass I've ever heard. What has he done to my
Well, I wouldn't
parish?
know.
No, I don't think you would. Sorry, I meant no ill.
Well, even Hawthorne goes to his Sundays now. They've become quite a power duo. Hawthorne running the business of the town and Thune leading its religion.
I'm afraid I am out of sorts. I don't know what's real. I don't know if I'm awake. And I don't understand what's going on around here. Lancey thought that Hawthorne would possibly try to kill me. I don't understand. But he said I'd be safe here. This is the last place they would come.
Well, that is true. Perhaps your return has turned Lancey's heart. Or he plans to hide you, be away for some other purpose. He kind of shrugs his shoulders. Like, I was never good with politics, especially as a young man, and not even now as an old one. So I do a tarot reading for you, Father.
No, the church is
Find out
quite
what your
clear. Church is quite clear about our items of divination. It is in the realm of the power of the devil, and I don't think that would be good.
I don't know that it's the devil that guides my practice, but perhaps some of the other instances of late could be explained that way. You have returned at an interesting period in Brindlewood Bay's history.
What do you mean?
Well, the opening of the museum, for one. Hawthorne marketing this new experience, this new show, and to elevate Brindlewood Bay to another level or another status. Who knows? I know he's trying to bring in more movie deals. Get the cinematics being filmed out here.
What is a movie?
And then with the
What are you talking about?
show,
What's a cinemat? I don't know this word.
a lot to explain, Father Bauer.
don't know what to make of all of
Have you
this.
slept? You should rest. You really should. Are you hungry? What?
Yeah, Lancey was going to give me some food, but then he came in and said I had to leave and hide or I was going to be killed, so... Yes, if you have some food you could spare, I would much appreciate it.
I'll feed you. Gosh, how long would a telegram take to get to you?
That's a great question.
The actual transmission was pretty quick. Almost instantaneous. The speed of electricity down a wire. From here to Boston?
It took days, weeks, and even months for messages to be sent from one location to another. But I feel like it's not that far. After a telegram cable stretched from coast to coast, a message from London, New York could be sent there in mere minutes, and the world suddenly became much smaller. So I guess it depends on if the wires are there, which I feel like they are.
It does say in the 1850s.
Yeah.
So yeah, your office gets that's funny too, actually. I guess you would still be there because we're technically New Year's Day. So it's the next morning and you've started like researching Brindlewood Bay and you get a telegram from Mr. Lawrence Watley claiming that Turner O'Neill's old compatriot, Dr. Father Bauer, has reappeared after 30 years.
Jackson replies, "Understood. We'll stop there when I'm in town tomorrow first. Stop. Keep him safe and hidden. Stop." And that is what I shall send. Or, well, I guess I would be there today, right? Because I guess tomorrow's today. So, yes, so I'll be there later today. I'm assuming I can achieve
I
that.
think you'd be able to get there easily in less than a day. Perfect. Was there anything, Father Bauer, or did you anything you want to do, or would you kind of happily wait?
I think I would happily wait and rest because what I thought would make me feel better walking through town has actually made me worse, and I don't feel like going back outside. I'm a little bit
So you'll eat. Oh, go ahead.
on the verge of a panic attack, I think.
Yeah. So you'll eat and sleep. Your insight will. I can't remember if insight resets when you go to sleep.
If it doesn't, it's going to be a short
Yeah.
trip as
Because like
Bauer
I don't know if
round two.
insight ever
There's things you can do to reduce it, but I can't recall what they are.
when you're at 4. When you have 4 insight, you can destroy mythos knowledge or like permanently damage yourself in some way to remove 1 point of insight.
But let's be honest. I mean, Turner lived on 3 and 4 for a while. I mean, I'm sure you will be okay there, Pub.
Well, my experience is that it can rapidly shoot up, but yes, we'll carry on. But
I'm gonna point out our insight rolls have not been particularly low. this
yes.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Already been almost 2 hours. Do you guys want to take a break, a little 5-minute break?
Yeah,
Sure.
just a brief one would be good.
I probably only need like 3 minutes. Ready when ready. Oh. Anyone else getting that echo?
Yep.
Uh,
Testing. There we go. Oh,
It's echoing
it
on
might.
Baines.
Yeah. Your change might have activated it. 1 second. Let me see if I fiddle with it a little bit.
testing.
Good.
There we go.
Yeah, I just had to pull it further away from my computer.
Oh, weird. Okay. Yep. Let us know when rolling.
It is. Has been.
Oh, sorry. So there's a knock at the door. It's the next day. Father Bauer, you've slept, you've eaten, and you are still in Brindlewood Bay, 1908. Motley goes to open the door, and standing there is a man who has a striking resemblance to Turner O'Neill.
Hello, Lawrence.
Young Jackson. Gosh, where has the time gone?
Indeed, indeed. Still keep up with your seances and tarot readings, I'm sure.
They keep me eating happily. That's all we can
Well,
all we can any of us can ask for.
indeed. I might get one today with how things go. Plus, we have
I
some
would be
things.
glad.
Plus, we have some things to
Sure.
talk about, regardless of certain endeavors. Miss, what's her name? I know Sarah, but I'll say Sarah for sake of brevity.
For
Sarah has.
non-reason.
Yes. I feel like I would have kept in touch with Lawrence, him being the one of the only people that really defended Turner, and also seems to be into the occult as well. But I can be told otherwise if that's not the case.
When do you think the last time you were in Brindlewood Bay?
Um. Well, I'm assuming a litigator's needed everywhere, so whenever I've been called to defend someone.
Wait a second. So wait, was your mom Georgina
Georgina,
Blair?
yes.
Yeah. Gina is still alive, but she's ill. And her son, Devin, runs it with a woman named Wilhelmina, and they have 2 small children.
Yes, so Jackson respectfully tries to keep his distance from that, but would have visited his mother on occasion when he knows the others wouldn't be around. Because I'm assuming, based on logic, that they're not of the same father.
Exactly,
Whoever.
yeah. It would be your half brother.
Yeah. But I probably would have handled their case with the bakery in terms of their litigation and finances. I would have handled maybe some, I'm sure the litigator that's present in town, I'll say OOCly and ICly a little chagrined, is not really for the lower folk. More for, let's call it the upper crust people.
You know that the local litigator is Jeremiah Hawthorne's son, a man named Abraham Hawthorne. Runs the largest legal office in Brindlewood Bay. You also know that he owns some property and some businesses around town as well.
Mm-hmm. Now I have to check my civilians list again. Wasn't the mortician also the litigator once upon a time?
That was George 30 years ago.
Yeah. Which I'm assuming based on him not being here, unless I'm glossing him over as dead.
You would have to investigate what had happened to him.
All right.
And then you see also sitting on the couch in the main room is an older man dressed in priest robes.
Ah,
Oh, excuse me, of course. This is Father Bauer.
yes. I'm sure you're quite out of sorts, Father. But let me introduce myself. Jackson O'Neill. Turner's, let's say son, for lack of better phrasing here, but
Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you. I didn't know he had a son and nephew.
yes, after the unfortunate passing of my father, Jeff,
Oh,
that was 30 years ago. Yes, it's all right. It's been some time. I've never known the man, but
if you
Turner
say
talks
it's
about it.
death of Jeff was just a few days ago, in my mind, don't understand
Oh,
what's going on. Where?
I'm sure. I'm sure. Now, Father, I know this might seem out of sorts, but, and I'm assuming there's chairs. I'll pull up a chair and sit down next to him. That was, as Lauren says, 30 years ago. I know that might be a bit confusing, but is the sort of thing with the occult, of which now I am, well, of which I've always been, due to Turner, inherently aware of. For he, after your, as he phrased it, passing, was able to at least drive off what was bothering the town in the short term.
Really? Well, that is the best
Yes.
news. This is the everything that I have heard today and witnessed today has been extremely disturbing. And that, dear sir, is the most peaceful, reassuring thing that I have heard. Where is
Yes.
Turner?
He travels quite frequently, keeping on the move due to, well, his past and also because it is his nature, as you know. But do not fret, I shall guide you in this new era. Well, era is a strong term, but turn of the new century, you could say.
I must admit, there are many things that are very strange to me, but I don't wholeheartedly even believe that 30 years have passed. I feel like I'm in a
Yes.
dream.
I can imagine, but there's one thing that does not change, and he withdraws from underneath his collar, which he has to loosen a little bit, a rosary that seems very familiar to Father Bauer, and places it back in his hands.
Oh, blessed Lord Almighty.
Yes, yes. 30 years might have gone past with that on my possession, but Turner always said, keep it close and it will protect me. And he
Well,
kind of puts it is yours, I believe, so, and he kind of puts it.
yes, I remember. Thank you.
It is no problem, Father. Now, I do have a question, though, because I believe you were inherently involved in the investigation with my father. Would
If
you
you,
know about the events of that past? And also, by the way, I forget, were you there? This is so silly. Were you there when he found the book?
I don't remember now.
No.
All right. But you speak of seeing strange things. So there are many strange things in this world and without. So let me ask And you can come forth, Lawrence, too. I wish for you to see these. He'll gesture to Lawrence. I'm assuming they're at a table and a couch, more or less.
It's like his main table that he uses to perform his tarot and even when he does seances and stuff. And so, yeah, could lay it out.
And Jackson will put up his briefcase, undo the code and unlatch, and put the objects that Miss Bernard gave him onto the table. Now, do these strike either of you with some insight?
He immediately goes for the cylinder and starts like looking at it. Oh my gosh, it's so warm. It's was it emanating so much heat?
I was wondering the same. Something within, perhaps, inherent in the metal, but I couldn't quite place it. I
Jake
remember
struggled.
I remember Turner mentioning some similar sensations with the objects he found, although one was cold and slimy.
Takes a seat at his like big comfy chair at the table. Yes, Mr. Turner and I analyzed that Ankh for quite some time, and in many ways, we determined that it was drawing these entities from other realms, other dimensions to it. That's why he chose to not leave it with me and let me try to exorcise the curse out of it. I imagine that is why he's on the move so much, if he still keeps it with him anyways. Perhaps he's thrown it into the deeps of the ocean by now, I would hope.
Perhaps, though, it's his way to shoulder a burden. Jackson will say, but he goes, but perhaps this draws something else or keeps it away if heat is the opposite, but I do not know. I do know that in town, though, they have brought a mummy that was found with these objects once upon a time, upon a ship called the. I wrote it down. On a ship called the Eridanus. And was once on an island raised from the depths.
Yes, I knew Mr. Hawthorne had some plan for a museum. That is not one I expected.
Well, a
As for
mummy does
these-
draw attention.
As for these items, I believe this to be some sort of scroll case. I imagine there's some sort of writing inside.
Perhaps, although, and I'll pick it up again because I'm assuming I haven't tried to open it. I can't find a way to open it, or is there a pretty evident way to open it?
No, it doesn't appear. It appears to be just one single kind of piece.
As of yet, I have not found a way to open it. Perhaps some puzzle box of some sort, but I've tried to react to each part of the metal and the ends, and nothing has reacted to me as of yet. What do you think, Father? I'll kind of turn to him.
Where did you get this?
It was given to me by a mutual friend of ours. For reasons more, I think it best we keep it vaguer, but she brought it to us and said it came with this mummy that now makes its way or is situated in Brindlewood Bay, along with the book, and I'll say the name of the book because I can't remember it. I just say the Book of Iban, but I know it's not that.
That's it.
Oh, that's it. That's it. So I was correct. Okay, cool.
Here we go. I'll share it again.
Yes.
Oh, it
I
doesn't
just
actually
I'm
show the
saying,
name though.
yeah, the name is what I was like.
I'll configure ownership, then you can see it.
Book of Eva. Okay, cool. I actually did spell it correctly. Wonderful.
I look over this scroll case, apparently, if that's what it is. Turn it around.
You can make an investigation roll on it.
I will do that. Although I forget how to do so.
What are your? You have your personality, your specialty, and your flaw.
Personality, I don't know if any of these are gonna. Personality, I put 3 things. I know we weren't supposed to, but I put compassionate, caring, and shepherd. Oh, specialty,
Would you-
scholar.
Oh yeah.
And flaw is timid and hides behind cross. So scholar is probably the only thing that's even remotely relevant, but I'm not sure that it is because it's more about using a library and things.
It's been a hot second, but I believe there's a way to assist one another.
It is so the rule is if 2 people can do something, you roll together and go with the highest. But you don't actually have a way. The father, because of his experience, is the only one who can actually investigate this with a chance of succeeding.
Okay. I didn't know if my occult knowledge helped with this at all. So I was like, if I have a better chance than him assisting me, but
Not this in particular, but I'll remember that you did that.
All right. So I've clicked investigate, and it said if the task is within human capabilities, so I assume that's correct.
Yes. That's if you can do it. Yeah.
And if it's within your occupational expertise, does that tie in with my scholar, or is that not part of it?
Yeah, I would let you use that.
All right, that's all I've got then. Wow,
What's
there's
the
a roll.
father's flaw?
I discover everything humanly possible.
I believe it was hide behind cross, he said.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
timid, hides behind cross. Sorry. I didn't realize you'd ask me a question. I thought you were making a statement.
This thing, you touch it, like he hands it to you, and it starts to glow. And then it pops open, and this rainbow pastel light kind of sheds out of it. And there's this crystal inside. Is tied to a scroll. Which I'll show you. You, father, can read the language very easily. Turner looks at it. I'm gonna keep doing that. Jackson looks at it, and it just looks like gibberish to you.
Does it look like sort of the same writing that was in the Book of Ivan? Because, I mean, I did read that.
It's completely different. And it's definitely not a language you recognize. The father just starts to read out loud.
Oh, I can read it? Miraculously?
Teog.
As if just real quick, as if he's used to this. As soon as you start speaking this, he's gonna transcribe.
Oh, yeah. It says, Teog prepared to confront Gatanatoa in his alien-angled citadel of Cyclopean stone, creating a scroll written in hieratic Nasil on Thagon membrane, the inner skin of a Yakith lizard, encased in a carven cylinder of log metal brought from Yugoth. I would neutralize the power of the daemon god. On the day of the sky flames in the year of the red moon, estimated to be 173,000 BC, by a man named von Junst, is who wrote this. It says the high priest set forth with the blessing of King Theban and the hopes of the people to confront the shocking devil entity in its lair.
So that's what I understand it to say.
Yep, it's
But
like this old scroll that's telling a story of Mummy.
Oh,
But do I read it
Yes,
in this language and it just makes perfect sense to me, or do I read it in this language and I know it and then I translate it for him?
I mean, if you just read, you could read it out loud in whatever language you wanted.
Yeah, but I was saying, would I not know? Like, if it is it?
does it look like English to him, and he's just like reading
Yeah,
it out loud? He's like, oh, this is normal.
yeah, like related to where I've been for the last 30 years, and something I got used to just reading, and so I just read it as normal. It's
Yeah,
like assuming that
you
everyone can
don't see
understand
it
it.
as English. You see it as being this alien-looking type and lettering, but you just start reading out loud in English, like what you're seeing on the scroll.
Oh,
You just start
right.
translating it that easily.
Okay.
It's as easy as reading English is to you, but you can tell that Turner and Watley have no idea what that language is.
Yes, Jackson shall. After he read this out loud, transcribe it, and hopefully we can get that copy pasted to the cylinder, just so I can read it more in depth. And then, oh, thank God. Okay. And then looks at the crystal.
Crystal is just this small prism. It's this oddly angled stone. And it just
Sorry, what
seems
was
to be like, it's just this oddly angled stone, and whenever it catches light, it just almost seems to reflect it tenfold in different colors.
Hmm.
And as you gaze into it for a few moments, it becomes just beautiful and blinding almost. And you need to make an insight roll.
All of us, or just Jackson?
Just Jackson looking at it.
Curiosity.
You almost feel like you're being enveloped by it and becoming a piece of the universe. Everything around you seems to drop away and you feel small. As if you're being almost sucked into it.
Well, you see Jackson pick it up and look into it and just kind of start to bring it closer, but start to apparently be drawn into it and just overtly interested in it.
You then hear a noise. that you've never heard before. And Father Bauer, you hear this also,
But you have
and
heard
you
it.
recognize it.
Is it the sound?
It's the sound that keeps haunting you.
And you see Dr. Father Bauer I jump and I start looking about again. Oh no. That is not a good sound, Jackson. I don't remember what it is, but it is not a good sound.
And you're like, I've never heard anything like this. What is that? Put it away.
And with that, I don't know. Am I like in a trance, or have I snapped out of it with this, more or less?
You can snap out of it.
All right. And I'll kind of stop looking at it, and I'll put it back into the scroll case and close it. Or well, I don't. It seems to open when the father touches it, but not me. But
You can see that it easily seals and again goes back to looking like a single piece. You can't see any kind of break or keyhole or anything.
well, it said it would seal the evil away. The scroll seems to describe this, so maybe it's just the prism.
I'm still
I think
looking
I-
about, like, terrified of what.
But we have found out some information related to this mummy.
What is your plan? This is Thune. I could study these for you if you need to move about town. You could leave them here. I have a few ideas.
Um,
You also see, Father, that he has been he has that lao, those black flowers, kind of all over inside, and he's obviously been picking them from that one little spot they've been growing where you disappeared.
would I have recognized these flowers coming in, or
You would have not seen them growing outside, but you would have noticed like him having them all over the place.
and do I know what they are? I know
No.
Father did without checking, but I didn't know if my occult lets me know about things.
You could roll an investigation, but you'd have to use your insight dice.
Okay, gotcha. So investigate that, occupation, and insight. All right, so 3 dice.
Nice. So you know these flowers are something that would be used by occultists, like a psychedelic drug. You would also know that it could be used in other ways as well, or like what Watley might be doing.
Hmm. Been trying to gaze a little further than your sight normally is? Or, Lawrence? And I'll indicate the flowers.
I'll do whatever it takes to harness my power and hone my craft. I've single-handedly been holding off the dark spirits from this place ever since that fateful night. Looks over at the father. Everything changed that night.
And how have you been holding them off? Hill, Jackson will ask.
Why, with prayer, of course.
I must confess, all of this is all very strange to me. I don't know what to make of any of it. From the memories that I do have, even the events that happened were something that I hadn't quite come to grips with. And now everything is strange and different to me, and I don't understand. And I found these in my pocket when I awakened. And I pull out this key and this map and put it on the table.
Jackson will be inherently interested in this and look at both.
Which one do you go for first?
Assuming the map is still folded, he'll look at the silver key first.
Key doesn't really seem special, but it is very intricate and it's kind of rusting. And the edge of it doesn't look like it would fit in any lock you've ever seen. It looks more like some sort of ornament or decoration than a functional key.
Metal seems normal.
Yep, just seems like it's made out of a heavy silver.
Okay. Place it down. Wonder what that goes to. And then I shall look at the... what do you call it? Look at the...
Watley had started unfolding the map as you were looking at the key, just kind of right next to you on the table, and muttering. It's as I've seen it in my astral travels.
And then I shall look at what he's looking at.
Wonder if. Let me see. Bear with me once. How big is it when I pop it up?
One die if it's when you're... if you'll risk your sanity to succeed. Alright. Oh. I forgot almost how the rules worked. So I didn't have to make a... or do I still? No, I don't think I Did I have to make an insanity roll there on the second one? Because my insanity dice wasn't the highest dice in
No.
that batch.
Yeah, I did it for that item specifically. For the
Yeah,
flower.
no, but I still risked it. But my other question was because it says if it's not the highest in the batch, I don't make an insight roll. So that's why I was just double checking.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you can still get an otherworldly piece of information, but you don't gain you don't make an insanity roll.
cool. Okay.
What the? Oh, here we go.
So then I lower it one because I guess I wasn't.
Did it go up? Should only be at 2. Or
Yeah.
you should be at 3. You should be at 3.
Okay. Then right, because it was spaced out. All right, then yes, then I'm right level. Double check. All right. Wonderful. All right, and map. So,
Okay, where'd that map go? Yeah, I figured that quality would be terrible. Darn.
increasing brought from Yuga.
Too bad. Well. Yeah, Watley is just kind of going. He's very excited about this map, and he's talking about it as if he knows these places and what these are, and he's even describing them in detail, like what they look like. And the father is actually recognizing some of what he's saying, knows he's right about certain things.
I don't know how I know that, but what you say sounds familiar to me.
This one memory in particular of these islands and just this otherworldly landscape. And Watley says, I travel through the dreamscape almost every night. It is a gift I've had ever since I was a small child. These are the dreamlands. There's a whole other world beneath ours. The stars are the same. It's more like a reflection of some kind. Perhaps that is where you were, Father. If you recognized these things and you brought this key back with you, you've been traveling out there. Perhaps this here and now is your astral projection.
I don't know what that means.
Well, you've been wayward for some time. Perhaps you were, as he says, astral walking to this other place. And this scroll describes certain places. I would try to read on the map, but it gets blurry. Do I see that it describes these places that they're speaking about in the scroll to the map?
The scroll.
because I was trying to look for Kana, and I think Yugoth is a planet. I could be wrong.
It is. Yeah, you actually. Scroll doesn't match the map.
Yeah. So the scroll does not match this place, but certain areas. And by the way, because it seems like it was described earlier, it looks like it's ripped from a book, right?
Exactly.
If I look at my book and I flip through it, does it seem like it's missing a page?
No. This map looks like it was pulled out of like an oversized book. Or some kind of long rectangular, over twice the size of your book.
Hmm.
Or like maybe an atlas or something, like a big parchment.
Well, Jackson's curious and he risks it for the biscuit. If I look through my book for any mention of any of these things, does it come up with anything?
You'll have to make an investigation roll.
I shall make one. Human. I won't risk insanity yet because I feel like I already have enough insanity to spare. Well, I got the bare minimum. Apparently, it wasn't the field of study.
Roll a 1d8.
Six.
You open up the book. You find a passage called Kinothrabian Dirge. And it reads, For Antes, shorn from the world by the dogs of Tindalos. Sale il, sale il. Let all the lofty titans in the heavens hear our hearts decanted. From the jutting spirals of Tindalos, bitter towers black. Little do they fathom of grand impurity, the ambush of line and crack and angle sharp. To delight thee, O great slumber, Zothaqua. In thy toad-shaped countenance tremendous, Daemon, sovereign of Nakai and Yoth, forsake us not.
So, do I get? I know it's a passage, but I'm assuming just like the other one, it's kind of another spell. Is it like to summon a hound? Is that kind of what I'm getting from this?
It is a spell, but with only a 1 or you didn't roll a
I got a
6, so
2,
nothing
yeah.
happens. Watley
Okay.
looks at the book. What is this? And he starts flipping through it.
Watley, I would take your time, or Lawrence, I would take your time with it. It's very delicate.
Oh, I recognize some of this. But most of these. Well, I see a lot of the same. I mean, there's a lot of repetition here. What is this?
Yes, you'll find that it changes, though that shouldn't surprise you. It is the Book of Iban, or at least an older copy than my father once had, as it's been described to me. It's what he, in part, used to dismiss the creature that came here once before.
I would love to study this if you would leave it with me.
He would like to study everything. Is what he would like to do. But as far as my time, Lawrence hasn't seemed untrustworthy, right? Just that he kind of like me, who has an unhealthy fascination with the occult.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, I was hoping. So. Okay. So I'm assuming that there's places in town now that it's more up to date that where I could stay. That's not like the Seaside Inn, unless the Seaside Inn is now the Seaside Hotel, but somewhere more well-to-do.
Yeah, if you wanted.
Okay, I was just curious because I'm assuming I have to stay
Well,
somewhere.
it's much bigger. Town is much bigger. It's more options.
Well, I'd probably stay in a nicer hotel, but I would go. Oh, that's wonderful. That's what I needed. It's hard to write down these words sometimes.
No, I know. I have all that. I had to hide all the rest of it.
Sign the flight. Okay. All right. So I'll go. I have no problem you studying it, but I feel like one should not study alone in such endeavors, Lawrence. So if you wish to make a trip to my hotel, we can do that together. But I believe you promised me a reading, and perhaps also take one of your flowers with me to go, or whatever concoction you've made from the flower would also be a welcome addition. Sharing in research and all.
Oh, you wish to try my supplements? I'd be honored to let you have a sample. And he gives you this little pouch of pills. They're small and black.
I'm assuming one per dose? I'll say almost sarcastic.
Whenever you think you need one, you should take one. I'm sure they'll help.
And they shall help me, as you put it, to astral walk?
Oh, yes,
Or
they
more.
do. They'll help with all sorts of things. General mood, perhaps the father's anxiety.
Well,
Not
give me a short
sh-
description of what they can do other than mood and astral walking. Again, sharing research and all.
I'm not sure that is a good
Hard,
idea
yeah.
for me to be taking.
Jackson will kind of hold up his hand to Father as if not to cut him off, just to let him continue. Just as if to get more information. He's like, hopefully the Father understands his signal. He's like, 1 second. So mood, astral walk.
I think it would help you, Father. You are obviously going through a great ordeal. I can only imagine how you must feel after the disorientation. Is very real, I imagine. My supplements will help calm your mind. It may even help bring back your memories.
Yeah, thank you, but no thanks. I do not know what that is.
Well, Father, it's. You said. Well, I mean, I rolled 6 on the. I think I know what it is. That's what is described as a Lao. Liao.
Yeah, I know the name. But I don't quite have all my memories together. And I'd rather not be taking something that I don't fully understand.
well, rather have it than not have it. But he's probably not wrong, and it could give you your memories back, as you're probably scattered due to your walking, and connecting you with that once more would regain some of them. I do not suggest now, just describing its effects.
I see.
Well, Father, until we can figure out what is happening with you or to you, you're welcome to stay here with me.
Well, since my life is in danger if I am anywhere but here, I think that's probably what I should do. I thank you for the hospitality.
Mr. O'Neill, I'm afraid I only have room for one guest. The house is small.
That's fine. I shall set myself up in one of the hotels. I believe I need to, as you would put it, get engaged in some politicking to perhaps find out some more information.
Yes, well, Mr. Hawthorne does run a good hotel. I'll give him that much. He's a shrewd businessman and he's growing Brindlewood Bay, but there's something underneath. There's something underlying all of it. Something dark.
Yes.
Feel its shadow, its presence.
My father did describe such a feeling, and perhaps the involvement of the Krauses and Habsburys, basically everyone that went on that voyage, and the catch that mysteriously went missing not shortly after.
Father's return could mean many things.
It could. There's much to find out about, and what this mummy has to do with it, and what all these other aspects are. Although I think you did promise me a reading, he'll say. It kind of gives a small smile.
I would be happy to do so. Then he, goes to sit down and takes one of his own pills and starts shuffling his tarot deck when there's banging at the front door and the voice of Lancy Thune yelling out for Father Bauer. Father Bauer, are you in there?
Oh, I
And then we
forgot he
will
said he was
end.
going to meet me here. I'm sorry. I didn't tell you.
It is all right.
That man is a little odd.
Yes. I believe I remember part of him. And I'll slowly put all the artifacts in my briefcase and just kind of click the lock, just so he doesn't see them lying out and about.
Watley says, be very careful with Mr. Thune, Father. He's a changed man since your disappearance. And then he goes to open the door. And we will end the session there. All right. No leveling up in this game.
No.
No.
You survived. That's what matters. You're both at 3 insight.
I am.
I'm
You're doing good. That's nothing.
we need some more artifacts in here, like that orb that Turner found, whatever the
Next session, I'll go to max. I'm sure of it.
Well, you can take the pills anytime.
Yeah, I'm a man of the cloth, taking strange drugs that I don't know anything about is just not a thing.
You have gone to another world, though, so maybe you've broadened your horizons
You
quite a
keep
bit.
telling me that, but I don't know that to be true. To me, it's a
The
dream.
memories will come back. It'll come back to you.
It's fun. Fun setup.
Oh yeah.
Arc number 2. Like Arc 3 will be a full-on invasion of the Elder Gods. Like
Well, I'll last one session then.
straight up kaiju attack. By Cthulhu.
Yeah, that's where you got to get the heck out of Brindlewood.
No, because that was my whole plan. Is that game I have that's called Cthulhu Tech is literally that. It's like your 3,000 futuristic mech warrior robots fighting Cthulhu invasion force. And that so it would be like Brindlewood Bay year 2895 or New Year's Eve 2899, like, or going into the year 3000, right? Day 1. Bauer wakes up. It's been high future tech,
Doesn't even know what to do with himself.
slowly time traveling through Brindlewood Bay.
Yeah, I think just walking outside would cause an insight check every other minute, and then he'd just go insane before noon had come about. That would be the end of him. It wouldn't even get through even part of the first session.
I'm really curious to see where this one goes. I prepped a lot. Everything could kind of move into different eras really easily. The other one only went 3. Yeah, this one will probably go 3.
That's the length of my survival at most, but yeah.
Well, based on previous, Turner could have kept going until for a
Yeah.
while.
Turner's still going out there somewhere.
Oh yeah.
When if Jackson goes insane, Turner can just show back up. Old man Turner. And then you'll both be back together. It's a 30 years later reunion. Oh, man, that'd be kind of awesome, actually.
Oh yeah.
May have to do that. It's funny.
What's funny too is it doesn't say like you die. You just write yourself out of the scene. So I mean, if Jackson does go to the insane asylum or something, or even you could just be arrested, I guess, off the screen and not come back. I mean, you just get rid of your character somehow. It says.
Well, I think it says you go incurably insane.
Yeah. Well, even if you,
So-
if you reach
But
inside,
that's what I like.
you understand the
It's
full
very
horror, even if you look insane.
I think it's really dependent on the situation. Like you go insane during what makes no sense.
Oh yeah. Like it was really unfortunate for the father to go insane right when the tentacle was coming out to go grab him.
Yep.
But now we get to do this whole like wake up 30 years later. That was so awesome. Like your reactions, Andy, are so perfect. Like
Jackson's trying to be the grounded, calm figure for you at this point,
Yeah.
which is quite contrasted to Turner's running about and yelling and bashing things in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be much help in this arc, because I'm just mostly like, what's going on? I don't recognize any of this. It's only been a day. What are you guys talking about?
You just got to embrace the other. and then Father Bauer's role will become clear.
Yeah, that's what will happen.
Start exorcising the demons.